Okay, this is a re-release of the video on error checks. I realize, with a little bit of help from Tom Downing, that I interpreted something on the error charts wrong. So I'm going to make another pass at this and hopefully cover everything I did in the original video, but get the interpretation correct. So, error checks in box seat baseball start with looking at the red die. In the 5 die sequence, anytime you see a 0 on the red die, you are going to check for an error. The only exceptions would be if the play is a strikeout or a walk or a hit by pitch. And on the wild play charts, there's some error checks that are separate, but you wouldn't use a red die 0 on the wild play charts. But if you can remember from earlier, I mentioned that when you get the game, you get the big red die with the 0 with the E next to it as a visual reminder to check for an error anytime the red die is a 0. I've replaced that one with a smaller red die, and I've played the game enough to know that when you see 0 in the red, you're going to be checking for an error. So let's have Bobby Tolan from the Padres facing off against Tommy John from the Dodgers. And here's our dice roll: 26, and then 30 green and red, and a 0 on the pitcher die. Pitcher die is not really going to come into play here. But, so you have the 0 on the red, so you know you're going to check for an error. Okay, so let's see what the result is. John's a lefty, Tolan's a lefty, and 26 against the left-handed pitcher on Tolan's card is a K-1. So I'm trying to teach you some different combinations with this video, and you see that this is a potential strikeout. But if you go to John's card against a lefty like Tolan, it is not a strikeout. John was a really good ground ball pitcher, struck out his fair share, but in this case he does not strike out the lefty Tolan. It is a regular grounder 3. So Tolan was able to get some wood on the ball and put it in play, and you have a regular grounder 3. So let's go to our flip card, and you can see that on an RG3, so the top row, the third column, it's hit to first base. And any Dodger fan knows that the 1974 first baseman was the eventual NL MVP, Steve Garvey, who is a 2 fielding, that's his range. And then next to that, you're going to see his E rating, error check, or his error rating, 15. Okay, so the error ratings in box seat baseball go from 0, the worst, to 20, the best. 20s don't make errors. 0s make a ton of errors. So Garvey at 15 is pretty solid. Not going to make too many errors. Okay, so you've got that 15. So what you're going to do, now that you know where the ball was hit, and you know it was a ground ball, you're going to look at the sequence of the white, the black, and the green. And in this case, you have 26 and 3. You don't re-roll. You use the sequence from the original dice roll. So 26 and 3. And because this is a ground ball, you're going to go to the ground ball error chart, which is right here. And you can see the hit error check, the fly ball error check, the ground ball error check, and the pop-up error check. There's one other chart related to base stealing errors by the pitcher or the catcher, and I'll cover that when I talk about stolen bases. But we're going to look at the ground ball error check. Okay, so here's where I went wrong last time. I was starting with the error rating and then looking at the die roll, and you're supposed to go in the other direction. I've given Tom some feedback that perhaps maybe the next version of the charts, he flips the columns because we read from left to right in general, and if the dice roll is the trigger, then I think it's best to kind of have the dice roll lined up. But here's how you do this. You're going to look at the combination, which we said was 26-4. Now, where does 26-4 fall on the column that says die numbers? It's next to the number 12. Or sorry, 26-3 was the number. So where does 26-3 fall? Well, we have 26-4. So 26-3 falls between 24-4 and 26-4. So you're going to use the 24-4 row here to determine if the ball is an error, because that number is essentially the minimum die roll. So anything higher than 24-4, you're going to use that row. Anything 26-4 higher, you go to the next row. 33-4. You go to the next row. You keep going up until you hit a number where the sequence is greater than the dice combination. So 26-3 falls in between 24-4 and 26-4. So if the dice roll is 24-4 or higher, the fielder needs to be an 11 or better. That's the minimum error rating that you can have for the fielder to make the play cleanly. Otherwise, it's an error. So 11 is the number you're looking for, and as we mentioned, Garvey is a 15. So he makes the play. There's no error on this ball. Garvey is going to actually flip it to Tommy John covering first base because the asterisk next to the 1B means that it's a 3-1 put out rather than 3 unassisted. So that is how that play resolved itself. Now, let's use this other card here where it's hit to shortstop. The shortstop, of course, for the Dodgers is Bill Russell. And you can see he plays both shortstop and right field. His range at shortstop is very good. His F rating is 1. He's a 3 in right field with a C arm. But his air rating at shortstop is not so good. It's 9. He's much better in right field. He's a 20 out there. But, you know, at shortstop, he's going to get to a lot of balls, but he's also going to misplay a lot of balls. So what does he do on this one? Again, you're using this original die roll, 26-3. And again, where does 26-3 fall? It falls in between 11 and 12. So you're going to use that 11 rating. Is Bill Russell at least an 11 to make the play? No, he's not. He's a 9. That falls below, and so Russell is going to boot the ball, and Tolan is going to reach first. Had the green die been a 0 on a ground ball, it's going to be a 2-base error. Think of it as Russell threw the ball away. But anything but a 0 on the green is just a 1-base error with the bases empty. So again, 26-3, where does it fall? In between 11 and 12. Look at that 11. That's the minimum rating you need to be able to make the play. Russell does not make the play. Okay, another example would be if we made it 66 instead of 26. Okay, 66 for Tolan against John is going to be short fly 1. So that's a short fly to the outfield. Where does that go? On this card, it's going to go to center field. Okay. Fly balls use a different chart. There are fewer errors on fly balls than there are on ground balls, and so the ratings, as you can see, in the dice rolls go up a lot slower. Even the poor error ratings don't make a lot of errors on fly balls compared to how they would on ground balls. So 66-3, where does that fall? Well, it's actually higher than the largest number on the chart. At the very top row, if you look in the top right column, 66-0 is as high as it goes. So anything 66-0 or higher, an 18 would make the play, and so would a 19, and so would a 20. So the ball's hit to center field. The center fielder is our friend Jimmy Wynn, and he's an 18. He didn't make a lot of errors. So this 18, matches up to the 18 on here. He does not make an error. Had the ball been hit to right field, I don't have a card that has right field, but let's just pretend it was hit to right field. Right field's Willie Crawford. He's a 13 in right field. He's a 20 in center field. So let's just say, though, he's playing right and the ball's hit to right. So now you have that 13. 66-3 up against this chart. It's got to be 18 or better. He's a 13. Going to drop the fly ball, and Tolan's going to reach base again. So error checks, again, first thing you do, look for the 0. Second thing you do is if it's a result other than a walk, a strikeout, or hit by pitch, then you're going to look at what play it is. You're going to find the fielder involved, and then you're going to go to the appropriate chart based on the ball, and you're going to start on the right side and say, where does the dice combination, white, black, green, fall within on the right-hand column? And when you find that number where it's either that or higher, then you look to the left and you see that error check number, and the fielder has to be that number or better to avoid making the error, to make the play cleanly. And so you can see over here on hits, not so many errors until you start to get down into the poor error numbers. Fly balls, you really have very few chances to make an error unless you have a really high dice roll. Ground balls is where you're going to see the bulk of your errors, and then pop-ups, not very many at all. This chart even kind of skips a bunch of rows. So, again, here, if you're looking at, say you had that 26-3, that's going to fall between 15-1 and 61-4. There's a very wide range there. So anything 2 or better is going to catch the pop-up because there are not many drop pop-ups in baseball. So, okay, so that's how the error process works. Hopefully I got it right this time. Thanks for your patience as I do these videos, and I'll have some more coming pretty soon. Thanks a lot.